Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning in Phoenix, Arizona, and Elena Torres is standing in front of her bedroom mirror, studying her reflection with a kind of intensity usually reserved for crime scenes. At 40 years old, she's still undeniably beautiful, the kind of woman who turns heads at grocery stores without even trying. But Elena doesn't see what others see. All she notices are the changes that time and motherhood have written across her body like unwelcome love letters. She traces the lines under her eyes, remembers when her breasts sat higher, when her skin had that effortless glow of youth. 2 children and 15 years of marriage later, Elena feels like she's living in someone else's body, a stranger's skin that no longer matches the vibrant woman she remembers being. This is the moment that changes everything. This is the moment Elena Torres decides to reclaim herself. But here's what she doesn't know yet. Sometimes when we try to reclaim our past, we end up sacrificing our future. Elena's husband Marcus is in the kitchen making coffee when she finds the courage to voice the thought that's been haunting her for months. Marcus is one of those rare men who genuinely doesn't notice when his wife gains 5 pounds or when gray threads start weaving through her hair. He's a construction worker with calloused hands and kind eyes, the type of man who still opens car doors and remembers anniversaries without phone reminders. "I've been thinking about getting some work done," Elena says, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking louder might make the words more real, more permanent. Marcus looks up from his coffee, confused. "Work done? Like around the house?" "No," she says and takes a deep breath. "On me. Breast enhancement. Nothing crazy, just bringing back what I used to have." The silence that follows isn't uncomfortable. It's contemplative. Marcus has always been a man who measures his words carefully, and Elena loves him for it. He doesn't immediately jump to reassurance or objection. He simply studies her face, reading the vulnerability she's trying so hard to hide. "If this is what you need to feel like yourself again," he finally says, reaching across to squeeze her hand, "then I'm behind you. 100%. Those words, spoken with such genuine love and support, will echo in Elena's mind months later when everything falls apart. But right now they feel like permission, like a green light to become the woman she believes she's meant to be. What neither of them realizes is that this conversation isn't just about surgery. It's about identity, about worth, about the dangerous line between self-improvement and self-destruction. 3 months later, Elena is staring at herself in that same bedroom mirror, but this time she's smiling. The surgery was everything she hoped it would be, subtle but impactful, natural-looking but undeniably enhanced. Her clothes fit differently. Her posture has changed. Most importantly, when she catches glimpses of herself throughout the day, she feels a spark of recognition. "There you are," she whispers to her reflection. "I missed you." Marcus watches this renaissance with genuine happiness. His wife is humming while she gets dressed, taking longer with her hair, actually wearing the jewelry he bought her for their anniversary 3 years ago. She's radiant in a way he hasn't seen since before their first child was born. But something else is happening, something so gradual that neither of them notices it at first. Elena starts going to the gym. Not just occasionally, like she used to, but religiously. 5 days a week, sometimes 6. She hires a personal trainer, a 20-something fitness model named Jake who talks about optimizing her results and maximizing her investment. Elena finds herself looking forward to these sessions in ways that have nothing to do with fitness. Her wardrobe begins evolving too. The flowing, modest dresses that used to be her signature are slowly replaced by form-fitting outfits that showcase her new silhouette. Necklines that once barely revealed her collarbone now draw attention to her enhanced curves. Elena tells herself she's just finally wearing clothes that fit her properly, but deep down, she knows there's more to it. The real change, though, is in her phone. Elena, who barely posted on social media before the surgery, suddenly becomes active again. Gym selfies become a regular feature, her face flushed from workouts, her new figure evident even in athletic wear. The responses are immediate and intoxicating. Fire emojis, heart eyes faces, comments from men she barely remembers from high school telling her she looks absolutely incredible. Each notification sends a tiny thrill through her system. Each compliment feels like validation that she made the right choice. Elena finds herself checking her phone constantly, craving that next hit of external approval. Marcus notices but doesn't say anything. Not yet. 6 months after the surgery, Marcus's college friends are in town for a reunion dinner. These are men he's known for 20 years. Jake, David, and Michael. Guys who knew Elena before marriage, before kids, before life softened all their edges. The restaurant they choose is upscale but comfortable, the kind of place where conversations flow as freely as the wine. Elena arrives 20 minutes late, apologizing breathlessly about traffic, but Marcus suspects she spent the extra time perfecting her appearance. She's wearing a black dress that hugs every curve, her makeup more dramatic than usual, her confidence radiating from across the room. "Holy shit, Elena," Jake says before he can stop himself, then immediately apologizes for the language. "I mean, you look absolutely amazing. Seriously, what's your secret?" Elena laughs, a sound that's become more frequent and somehow different since her surgery. Louder, more performative. "Just taking better care of myself," she says, but her eyes sparkle with the satisfaction of being noticed. Throughout dinner, Marcus watches his wife become the center of attention in ways that feel simultaneously wonderful and terrible. She's animated, engaging, flirtatious in a way that seems natural but also calculated. She touches David's arm when he tells a joke about their college days. She leans in close to Michael when he shows her photos of his kids. She asks Jake about his divorce with a level of interest that makes Marcus's stomach twist. The other men are captivated. They hang on her every word, laugh a little too hard at her stories, find excuses to compliment her throughout the evening. Elena basks in their attention like a plant that's been moved from shade into full sunlight. Marcus smiles and participates in the conversations, but inside, he's experiencing something he's never felt in 15 years of marriage. He feels invisible. Not just ignored, but actually invisible, as if his presence at the table is optional. These are his friends, his wife, his dinner invitation, but somehow he's become a supporting character in Elena's show. Driving home, Elena is electric with energy. "That was so much fun. I forgot how much I missed going out with people. We should do that more often." Marcus grips the steering wheel tighter. "Yeah," he says quietly. "Fun." But it wasn't fun for Marcus. It was educational. He learned that the woman he married, the woman who used to hold his hand under restaurant tables, who used to include him in every conversation, who used to make him feel like the most important person in any room, was disappearing. And he had no idea how to get her back. Over the following weeks, Elena's behavior becomes more pronounced. She's not just posting gym selfies anymore. She's sharing photos from girls' nights out, professional headshots from work events, even simple mirror selfies with captions about feeling grateful and living my best life. The engagement on her posts is unlike anything she's ever experienced. Men from her past resurface in her comments. High school classmates, old co-workers, even complete strangers who somehow found her profile. The attention is intoxicating, addictive in a way that Elena doesn't fully understand but can't seem to resist. She finds herself crafting posts specifically to generate responses. She experiments with different angles, different outfits, different captions to see what gets the most reaction. The validation has become a drug, and like all addicts, Elena needs increasingly larger doses to achieve the same high. Marcus watches this transformation with growing alarm. His wife, who used to roll her eyes at women who posted constantly on social media, is now one of them. Worse, she's becoming someone who seems to need constant external validation to feel good about herself. Their conversations become shorter, more superficial. Elena is always distracted, always checking her phone, always preparing for or recovering from some social event where she can showcase her new self. Marcus feels like he's living with a beautiful stranger who happens to share his last name. The breaking point comes during a simple argument about household responsibilities. Elena forgot to pick up their daughter from soccer practice because she was at the gym with her trainer. It's a small thing, the kind of oversight that happens in busy families, but Marcus's frustration boils over. "You forgot because you were too busy taking gym selfies," he says, the words sharper than he intended. Elena's face flushes with anger. "That's not fair. I'm allowed to have a life outside of this house. You've always had a life outside this house. But now it feels like you have a life outside this marriage." The words hang in the air between them, heavy with implications neither of them is ready to fully explore. Arguments become more frequent, more pointed. Marcus finds himself saying things he never thought he'd say to the woman he loves. Accusations about attention-seeking, concerns about her priorities, questions about whether she even wants to be married anymore. Elena defends herself with increasing desperation. She insists she's just finally living authentically, finally feeling confident after years of insecurity. She accuses Marcus of being jealous, controlling, unable to handle her happiness. But here's what Elena doesn't tell Marcus, what she barely admits to herself. She's not actually happier. She's more anxious than she's ever been. The constant need for validation is exhausting. She checks her phone obsessively, refreshing social media to see if anyone has liked her latest post. When a photo doesn't get the engagement she expects, she feels genuinely depressed. The attention from other men, which initially felt flattering, has become overwhelming. Her direct messages are filled with inappropriate comments from strangers. Men at the gym, at work, even at their daughter's school events, approach her with a boldness that makes her uncomfortable. But she doesn't stop the behaviors that invite this attention because the alternative, being ignored, feels worse. Marcus, meanwhile, is experiencing his own transformation. The confident, secure man Elena married is becoming withdrawn and suspicious. He finds himself checking her phone when she's in the shower, looking through her social media interactions, questioning her whereabouts in ways that make him hate himself. One night, lying in bed after another tense day of barely speaking to each other, Marcus breaks the silence with words that will haunt Elena forever. "I miss the woman who didn't need the whole world to tell her she was beautiful. I miss the woman who cared more about what I thought than what strangers on the internet thought." Elena pretends to be asleep, but tears stream down her face in the darkness. Because somewhere deep down, she misses that woman too. The end comes not with a dramatic fight or a discovered affair, but with a quiet conversation over breakfast on a Saturday morning. Their children are at sleepovers, the house is peaceful, and for a moment, it feels like the old days when they could talk about anything. Marcus sets down his coffee cup with the careful precision of a man who has rehearsed this moment in his head 100 times. "I've been thinking about us," he says quietly. "About what we've become." Elena's stomach drops because she knows what's coming. She's felt it building for weeks. The distance, the resentment, the slow dissolution of everything they built together. "I don't recognize the woman I married," Marcus continues, his voice steady but devastated. "And I don't think you recognize the man you married either. Somewhere along the way, we both became people we don't like very much." Elena wants to argue, wants to defend herself, wants to explain that she's still the same person. But looking into Marcus's eyes that once looked at her like she was the most beautiful woman in the world, she sees only exhaustion and grief. "I can't compete with the mirror, Elena," he says, and his voice finally breaks. "I can't compete with the validation of strangers. I can't keep trying to love someone who doesn't seem to think my love is enough anymore." The divorce papers are filed 3 weeks later. Elena throws herself into single life with the same intensity she once brought to her marriage. Her social media becomes a carefully curated showcase of independence and empowerment. Dinner dates with attractive men who complement her transformation. Weekend trips to trendy destinations. Professional photos that make her look like she's starring in her own aspirational lifestyle brand. The comments pour in, "You look amazing. Living your best life. Goals. Your ex doesn't know what he lost." Elena shares these posts with captions about growth and self-love and finding herself. She talks about the importance of putting yourself first, about not settling for less than you deserve, about the power of transformation. Her friends praise her resilience, her confidence, her refusal to let divorce dim her shine. But here's what Elena doesn't post about: the crushing loneliness that hits her every night when she comes home to an empty apartment. The way she obsessively checks dating apps, looking for validation from men who see her as nothing more than an attractive profile picture. The exhaustion that comes from constantly performing happiness for an audience that will disappear the moment she stops being entertaining. She doesn't post about how she sometimes catches herself in the mirror and feels nothing. Not happiness, not sadness, just a hollow recognition of a beautiful woman who feels completely empty inside. It happens on a Tuesday night, 6 months after the divorce is finalized. Elena is scrolling through her laptop, looking for photos to post for Throwback Thursday, when she stumbles across a folder of old family pictures she'd forgotten existed. There's a photo from their vacation to San Diego 3 years ago. Marcus has his arms wrapped around her from behind, both of them laughing at something their son said. Elena is wearing no makeup, her hair is messy from the beach wind, and she's probably 15 pounds heavier than she is now. But the happiness in her face is radiant, genuine, infectious. She scrolls through more photos. Christmas mornings where they're all in matching pajamas, looking ridiculous and completely content. Marcus teaching their daughter to ride a bike while Elena cheers from the sidelines. Family barbecues where they're covered in sunscreen and grass stains, grinning like they've won the lottery. In every single photo, Elena sees something that's been missing from her life for months. Authentic joy. Not the performed happiness of her current social media posts, but real, deep, unguarded contentment. That's when it hit her. A realization so devastating it literally takes her breath away. She got exactly what she thought she wanted. A body that stops traffic. A life that looks perfect online. The freedom to reinvent herself however she chooses. But in chasing the intoxicating high of being desired by strangers, she destroyed the one thing that actually made her happy. Being genuinely loved by someone who knew her completely. Elena stares at that photo for an hour, tears streaming down her face, finally understanding the true price of her transformation. The surgery didn't ruin Elena's marriage. The social media attention didn't destroy her family. Elena did that herself, by forgetting the difference between being desired and being loved, between external validation and internal worth. She had become so obsessed with her reflection, both literal and digital, that she stopped reflecting on what truly mattered. In trying to become someone worthy of attention, she lost the person who had always given her his complete attention. Marcus wasn't perfect. Their marriage had its problems. But Elena traded 15 years of unconditional love, genuine partnership, and shared history for fleeting moments of surface-level admiration from people who would never truly know her. Now, sitting in her perfectly decorated apartment with her perfectly enhanced body and her perfectly curated social media presence, Elena realizes she has everything she thought she wanted and nothing she actually needs. The cruelest irony? In all her efforts to become more attractive, she had become someone even she couldn't love. Elena's story isn't unique. In a world obsessed with physical perfection and digital validation, millions of people are making similar choices every day. We're so focused on how we look to others that we forget to look at what we're losing in the process. The question isn't whether Elena should have gotten surgery. That's her choice to make. The question is whether she let the surgery change more than just her body. Did she let it change her values, her priorities, her understanding of what makes life meaningful? Social media has created a culture where external validation feels more real than internal satisfaction. We measure our worth in likes and comments rather than love and connection. We're more concerned with appearing happy than actually being happy. Elena's transformation was supposed to make her feel better about herself. Instead, it made her dependent on others for her sense of self-worth. It turned her into someone who needed constant affirmation to feel valuable, someone who confused being envied with being loved. The most dangerous transformations aren't the ones we see in the mirror. They're the ones that happen in our hearts when we forget that true beauty comes from being genuinely seen and cherished, not from being desired by strangers. Elena learned this lesson too late to save her marriage, too late to preserve the family she loved, too late to be the woman Marcus fell in love with. But maybe her story can save someone else from making the same devastating mistake. Because here's the truth that no amount of surgery can change. You can't fix what's broken inside by changing what's visible outside. Real transformation starts with accepting that the person who loves you at your worst deserves to be valued more than the strangers who desire you at your best. Elena Torres got everything she thought she wanted. And it cost her everything she actually needed. What do you think? Is Elena's transformation a cautionary tale about vanity, or a complex story about identity and self-worth? Can physical changes really alter who we are at our core, or do they just reveal who we were all along? Share your thoughts in the comments. But more importantly, look up from your phone and appreciate the people who love you exactly as you are. Because they're the ones who matter most.